Hello, May class, and welcome to your next wider curriculum lesson. We are going to be carrying on looking at the Romans. In the previous lesson, we looked at why the Romans invaded Britain. And in today's lesson, we will be looking at what the Romans have done for us. Right, so that was what we looked at yesterday. We looked at why the Romans invaded Britain. And in today's lesson, we're going to understand better what the Romans have done for us in modern day England. So I want you to have a look at these and think, what do all of these have in common? So give this a pause, have a look at the pictures that are on the screen, and think to yourself, what do they all have in common? So we're going to be able to explain the impact that the Roman Empire has had on Britain. So we're going to be able to list some of the key developments that the Romans introduced into Britain. We're going to explain how these developments impacted on Britain even today. They still impact us. And we're also going to judge the most important benefits that the legacy of the Roman invasion have left on Britain. So legacy is kind of the memory and the things that have been left behind and that we still that are still impacting us today. So before we start, what I would like you to do is pause the video now and have a look at this link. It's going to be in the description below. Which is a group of local fighters plotting to resist the Roman occupation of Jerusalem in 0 BC. We know that there was a similar resistance from the Celtic tribes in Britain. I want you to think while you're watching, do you think the Roman occupation, so the Romans coming in and invading the land, has had advantages? Were there advantages from them invading the British land? The Romans were very clever at inventing things. They were so technologically advanced that many of their inventions would not be used again in Europe for nearly 1,000 years. And this was after the British Empire had already disappeared. So the Romans invented things like the following. They invented roads. They invented concrete. They invented a human-powered crane to lift things, public baths, central heating, laws, so the Roman Senate of having laws that ruled the land. Those were the bridges for running water, so the aqueduct system, toilets. So if we have a look at this page, these are things that actually are still used in modern day Britain, just slightly differently. So we may not have public baths anymore, but we do have baths of our own. We still have roads that we drive on. We still have central heating. It just looks a little bit different and it's been modernized. We still use concrete. We still have toilets. Ours are obviously very different now, but the idea was first invented during the Roman Empire, and those again are inventions that are still used in modern day Britain. So even though the ancient Romans lived 2,000 years ago, we know a lot about them and how they lived. We know about them because of the building objects and documents that have survived over 2,000 years. So we've already looked at the fact that there are things like the Colosseum and other Roman buildings that are still around that we are able to see. So pause the video now and click on the second link that is in the description. If we're looking at some of the inventions that the Romans left over, we're going to look at the idea that they were first invented during the Roman times and they are still used now, but we've modernized them, as I said previously. So cranes were something that were invented in the Roman times, and the cranes that we have in modern day Britain are able to lift heavy materials, and that then they're able to lift heavy materials, and cranes can lift these materials to a required height, so however high up we need to get them, in the safest way. They can also then obviously move and put them somewhere else. They are cost effective and can help jobs get finished quicker, because obviously, as we know that manpower is maybe not as strong as the power of a crane, so being able to move things is made, the job of being able to move things is made a lot simpler by the use of a crane. The size of them means that they can move in many ways through a construction site, and they help buildings to be built as they transport the material and equipment. So they would pick up the materials you need from here and be able to move them where you need them, and it would be done quite quickly. Roads. So roads allow for transportation of people and products. We travel along the roads every day. They allow us to go to work, to go to school. They also allow us to travel around the country. And roads are sized to allow different sized vehicles. So the size of the road means that all the vehicles that go onto them are able to fit and everything runs smoothly. Toilets. Now, we did look briefly at the toilets, and I know that in your workshop you had a very interesting talk about the sponges and the vinegar. And obviously, our toilets don't quite look like the ones in the Roman times, but we still use them today. So every household has a toilet that helps us to manage human waste, and it's a hygienic way, a clean way of getting rid of the waste in our bodies and taking it away. It also prevents germs from getting into the environment, because they obviously have a lid that we're able to then close on the toilets. Central heating. Something that we definitely use here in winter. So central heating looks quite different to how it would have looked in the Roman times. In central heating, water can be transferred much faster and provide heat much faster. Houses and buildings can be heated up at a quicker rate, and they are lower in costs compared to electric heaters. Laws. We use laws to run the country, and rules make everything run smoothly, or smoother than it usually would. So rules can make things function smoothly. They can protect the rights of an individual. So we all as human beings have rights, and our laws should protect those rights. There should be justice for those that have been harmed, but there should also be punishment against those accused of different crimes. So if we go against the law, the laws then say that you should be punished for not following the law. They also provide a guideline of what is acceptable in society, so a society where we live, so what we can do and what we can't do. And they give us guidelines that help us understand that this is making the right choice, that would be making the wrong choice. Aqueducts. Aqueducts can be used to deliver water to people in towns, and the famous Trevi fountain in Rome is still fed by an actual aqueduct, by aqueduct water, so that's really interesting. Right, so your tasks today are going to be as follows. Write down in a spider diagram, remember back to what we spoke about in the previous lesson, what you drew, the things which the Romans invented. Choose which invention you think is the most important invention that the Romans gave Britain. So this is your choice. So I want you to think really hard about which one you think is the most important. You might need to do a bit more research about this to see a bit more information, and then make a video or record yourself stating the reason why you think that invention was the most important. You can also write it down under your spider diagram. And I want you to link this back. Think back to the question I asked you at the beginning of our lesson about this, right? What do these all have in common? So can we link some of these to the inventions from the Romans? and have another go through these, looking at the inventions, so the cranes, the roads, the toilets, central heating, maybe our laws, aqueducts. Decide which one you think is the most important. In your spider diagrams for task 1, you are welcome to add any extra information that you have learned about the Roman inventions. Make sure to list those. You can put them in point form underneath so that we can better understand what they were and how they are important now. So for example, the roads, you can say that the Romans invented them. Why are they still important now? And of course, don't forget to make sure that you are sharing all of this work with us on Tapestry. Please make sure that your work is uploaded by 4 p.m. this afternoon.